Every great life begins with a decision. The decision to stop drifting and start directing your own destiny. Most people never make that decision. They wake up, go through the same motions, repeat the same habits, and wonder why their life never changes. But here's the truth. Your future is being shaped right now, not next year, not someday, but this very second. The thoughts you allow, the habits you follow, and the choices you repeat are quietly building or breaking the person you're becoming. There comes a point when you must stop blaming your past, stop waiting for luck, and stop hoping for a miracle. You have to look in the mirror and say, enough, I'm in control now. That's where transformation begins, when you take full ownership of your growth, your discipline, and your direction. Because the world doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you earn through your daily habits and your mindset. Most people think success is about motivation, but it's not. Motivation fades. What lasts is the mindset you build and the consistency you live by. You can't rely on feelings. Feelings are temporary. You must rely on structure, on discipline, on a clear standard that doesn't bend just because life gets hard. Winners don't wait for the right mood. They train their mind to move forward, no matter how they feel. Think about it. Every successful person you admire started exactly where you are. Right now, uncertain, unmotivated, unsure if they could make it. But what separated them from the rest wasn't intelligence or luck. It was that quiet, daily commitment to improve their mind, sharpen their habits, and keep going when everything around them said stop. They learned how to outthink, outfocus, and outwork every excuse. That's why this moment matters. Because if you can train your brain to stay calm under pressure, to think before reacting, to separate emotion from logic, and to see opportunities in chaos, you become unstoppable. Life will still test you, but you'll handle it differently. You'll move with purpose while others panic. You'll make decisions from strength, not emotion. You'll see lessons in failure and wisdom in pain. That's what we're going to talk about today. How to train your mind to outsmart any situation. How to build a mindset so sharp that no challenge can break you. Because once your mind is trained, no one can take your power away. You'll stop being reactive and start being strategic. You'll stop surviving and start mastering your life. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being aware, intentional, and disciplined. It's about creating a mind that's too focused to be distracted and too strong to be defeated. When you build that kind of mindset, success becomes your natural state. Not something you chase, but something you attract. So today isn't just another talk, it's a turning point. From this moment on, no more autopilot living, no more emotional decision, no more wasted potential. It's time to take command of your thoughts, your focus, and your future. Because the moment you train your brain to think clearly, act wisely, and move with discipline, you step into a level of power most people never experience. And once you taste that clarity, that calm confidence, you'll never go back to who you were. This is where your real transformation begins. Number 1, pause before you react. Think. Deep think. The S for you react. Think, then respond. Every problem in life is not a crisis, even though it may feel like one in the moment. Most people make their worst decisions in the heat of emotion. They say something they regret, take action they can't undo, or destroy opportunities that could have changed their future, all because they didn't pause to think. A strong mind is not built on quick reactions. It's built on calm, deliberate responses. If you can train yourself to think before you act, you've already separated yourself from the majority of people who let emotion run their lives. The power to outsmart any situation doesn't come from being clever with words or pretending to be smarter than others. It comes from the ability to stop, breathe, and let reason take control before emotion takes over. Every time you face tension, criticism, or challenge, you're given a choice. You react instantly or respond wisely. The difference between the two determines your peace, your relationships, and even your future success. There will always be people who test your patience, situations that trigger your anger, and moments where you feel cornered. That's when your discipline is tested the most. The one who pauses before reacting holds real power. Because in that pause, the mind clears, logic returns, and the right decision begins to form. You start to see what truly matters and what doesn't deserve your energy. That pause is not weakness. It's the moment where self-control is born. The greatest leaders, thinkers, and achievers in history had one thing in common. They knew when to wait before responding. They didn't jump into every battle. They didn't speak just to defend their pride. They understood that the person who reacts out of emotion often loses control, while the one who stays calm wins the moment. If you want to master life, you must master the pause. It's not easy. Your ego will tell you to respond right away. But every time you resist that urge, your mind grows stronger and your decisions become sharper. Think about how many situations could have been avoided if you had paused for just a few seconds. One text message unsent, one argument left alone, one word kept inside, and everything might have turned out differently. The moment you pause, you regain control of your emotions. You give yourself the space to see the full picture instead of reacting to a single frame. This is what separates people who repeat mistakes from those who learn and rise above them. Every emotional reaction carries a price. It could cost you a friendship, a job, or your peace of mind. The more you react without thinking, the more you hand your power over to others. But when you learn to pause, you take that power back. You decide what deserves your attention and what doesn't. You start to move from being controlled by situations to being the one in control of them. That's where real strength begins, not in fighting every battle, but in knowing which ones are worth your energy. The truth is, people who master the art of pausing don't just make better decisions. They live better lives. They're calmer, more confident, and more respected. Others begin to notice that their words carry more weight because they don't speak out of impulse. When they do speak, it's with intention. Their silence builds authority, their composure earns respect, and their patience allows them to see what others miss. If you want to train your brain to outsmart any situation, start by building this habit every day. When something frustrates you, stop for a few seconds. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what outcome do I want here? Most of the time, you'll realize that reacting emotionally won't get you closer to your goal. That awareness alone will begin to reshape your thinking. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes. Soon, you'll find yourself staying calm in situations that used to overwhelm you. Over time, you'll notice something powerful. The world slows down for you. You'll start to anticipate situations before they happen. You'll sense tension before it explodes. You'll read people more clearly and make decisions that keep you one step ahead. That's the kind of control that comes from mastering your own emotions. It's not arrogance, it's awareness. You start to understand that no matter how chaotic the world gets, your peace depends on your discipline to think first, not react first. When your emotions calm, your mind opens. That's when creativity flows, solutions appear, and wisdom takes over. You'll be able to think critically, analyze situations from multiple angles, and see patterns others don't notice. That's how successful people handle challenges, not with panic, but with patience and thought. They train their brain to see beyond the surface. They look at cause and effect. They study the situation instead of rushing through it. That's how they make better moves while others waste energy reacting emotionally. There's a certain confidence that comes when you realize you don't need to respond to everything instantly. You begin to live life on your terms. When you pause, you gain the upper hand because you're operating from logic, not emotion. And the truth is, most people never reach this level of control. They're too busy defending themselves, too focused on proving they're right, too reactive to see that silence often speaks louder than words. You'll notice how your relationships start to change too. When you stop reacting, arguments end faster. When you think before you speak, people begin to listen. When you stay calm during chaos, others naturally look to you for direction. You become the anchor in the storm. That's real influence. Not loud, not aggressive, but calm, confident, and controlled. It's important to remember that every emotional test you face is a training session for your mind. The more you pause, the more mentally fit you become. You begin to think longer, see further, and act wiser. You no longer fall for manipulation or emotional traps. You learn to read people's intentions and separate truth from illusion. This is what makes your mind powerful, not by reacting quickly, but by choosing your response carefully. In every situation, whether it's personal or professional, you will always face moments that demand your patience. Those are the moments that shape you. Anyone can speak out of anger, anyone can react to stress. But few people have the discipline to stay silent until their thoughts are clear. That discipline is rare, and that's why it's valuable. So the next time someone provokes you, pause. When life throws chaos at you, pause. When something unexpected happens, pause. Because in that small moment of silence, you have the chance to protect your peace, make the right move, and show the world that you are in control of your mind, not a slave to your emotions. The person who learns to think before reacting wins in every area of life, in business, relationships, and personal growth. That's the skill that separates average minds from exceptional ones. So train your brain daily to pause, process, and then respond with purpose. Because when you can stay calm in chaos, you've already outsmarted most of the world. When you train your mind to pause before reacting, you begin to master the art of control. Most people spend their lives reacting without thinking, and that's why they never rise above their circumstances. They respond to people, events, and challenges impulsively, allowing emotions to take over logic. But the smartest people in the world understand that every second between stimulus and response holds incredible power. That pause, just a brief moment of silence, is where wisdom lives. It's where reason has time to speak before emotion takes the lead. The truth is, reacting immediately often comes from pride or fear. When someone offends you, your first instinct might be to defend yourself. When life throws a challenge your way, your impulse might be to complain or give up. But what if, instead of reacting, you gave yourself the gift of silence? What if you paused, not for weakness, but for clarity? Because silence is not submission, it's strategy. Every time you pause, you take back control of your emotions. You take back control of the situation. You stop being the puppet of your environment and start becoming the director of your own response. A wise mind knows that reacting without thinking usually leads to regret. How many times have people said something in anger and wished they could take it back? How many relationships have been damaged because someone spoke too soon? How many opportunities have been lost because someone allowed frustration to guide their choices? The power to pause separates those who live with discipline from those who live in chaos. The disciplined mind understands that patience is not waiting, it's thinking clearly before acting. You have to learn to train your brain to observe first, then decide. Observation gives you a full picture of reality. When you pause, you allow time to collect facts, not feelings. You start asking yourself questions. What's really happening here? What does this mean long term? Is this worth my energy? That's the kind of thinking that creates strong, composed individuals who can navigate life with strategy instead of emotion. Because most people lose, not because they're weak, but because they're impulsive. They throw away their power in moments of anger, frustration, or fear. Pausing before reacting builds a sense of self-respect. It shows that you don't respond to every situation like a puppet pulled by emotion. You begin to radiate calm energy. People notice when you stay centered while everyone else is losing control. It's a quiet kind of strength that commands respect. And when your mind is calm, your thinking becomes sharp. You start seeing solutions that emotional people can't see. You begin to respond intelligently instead of instinctively. That's how you win silently, by not reacting when others expect you to lose control. Every successful person you admire practices this principle. They don't make decisions in the heat of emotion. They take time to think. They analyze before acting. They pause, not because they are slow, but because they are wise. That pause allows them to act with purpose instead of panic. And over time, this one skill, pausing before reacting, builds a mind that can handle stress, pressure without falling apart. It's the foundation of emotional maturity and critical thinking. You can start small. The next time someone says something that triggers you, don't react. Just breathe. Give it a few seconds. Think about what outcome you want before you open your mouth. The next time life frustrates you, stop and ask, what can I learn from this? How can I respond that moves me forward instead of backward? Every time you choose to think instead of react, you rewire your brain for power. You're teaching your mind that it doesn't have to obey emotion. It can lead it. With time, this becomes second nature. You'll notice that situations that used to disturb your peace no longer have that power. People who try to provoke you will find no reaction to feed on. You become unshakable, calm, wise. You start living from a place of power instead of pressure. Because your strength no longer comes from reacting fast. It comes from responding, right? And that's the ultimate skill of intelligent living, to pause before you react. It's what separates those who are ruled by emotion from those who rule their emotions. It's what turns chaos into clarity, noise into direction, and weakness into strength. The moment you master this habit, you'll begin to see how much power you actually hold over every situation in your life. Number 2, question everything until you understand it clearly. Questioning everything until you understand it clearly is one of the most powerful habits a person can ever build. Most people stop thinking too soon. They hear something, see something, or read something, and immediately accept it as truth. They don't challenge it, they don't investigate it, and they don't test it. And that's why they remain stuck. Growth doesn't come from memorizing information, it comes from understanding it. It comes from digging deeper until the picture becomes clear. When you question everything, you train your brain to think critically instead of blindly following. The difference between an average mind and a great one is curiosity. Great thinkers don't just accept, they explore. They want to know why things are the way they are. They ask how it works, what it means, and whether it makes sense. This habit opens doors that most people never see. When you begin to question what others ignore, you start discovering truths that can completely transform your perspective. The world is full of noise, opinions, assumptions, and misinformation. And if you don't train your mind to question what you're told, you'll end up living someone else's version of the truth. People who never question things often make decisions based on half-truths. They follow traditions, opinions, and trends without ever stopping to ask, does this make sense for me? But when you start questioning, you start owning your mind. You stop accepting surface-level answers. You stop settling for, that's just how it is. You begin to search for the real reasons behind success, failure, and human behavior. And once you start doing that, your life starts moving in a completely different direction. Every time you question, you activate your brain's most powerful ability, reason. It's what separates you from instinct. It's what allows you to make intelligent decisions instead of emotional ones. When you hear advice, ask yourself, is this coming from experience or assumption? When you see a situation, ask, what's really happening here? When someone tells you something, ask, what proof do they have? This isn't about doubting everything, deeply for believing. Because once you understand something deeply, it becomes yours. You can apply it, adapt it, and grow from it. Critical thinking begins with, it's the courage to say, I don't know enough yet, and then seek to learn more. That kind of humility separates the wise from the proud. The proud think they know everything. The wise keep learning. Every question you ask builds a stronger foundation of understanding. You stop reacting to life based on emotion and start navigating based on knowledge. You begin to see patterns, predict outcomes, and recognize truth in ways that others can't. That's how thinkers become leaders. They're not following opinions, they're following understanding. In today's world, information is everywhere, but understanding is rare. People share things without verifying, repeat things without knowing, and argue about things they don't even understand. That's the danger of not questioning. You start living in confusion disguised as certainty, but when you question intelligently, you protect your mind. You make it your responsibility to filter truth from noise. And once your mind becomes trained like that, it becomes almost impossible for others to manipulate you. You become independent in thought and confident in decision. This habit also strengthens your confidence because every question you explore gives you clarity. You no longer doubt your path because you've taken time to understand it. You know why you're doing what you're doing. You know what works and what doesn't. You stop chasing trends and start building wisdom. And with wisdom comes peace, because when you truly understand something, confusion disappears. Start applying this mindset in every area of your life. When someone gives you advice, ask yourself if they've achieved what you want. When you learn something new, break it down until it makes sense to you. When you face a problem, don't rush for the first solution. Analyze it, test ideas, and think it through. Every time you question, your brain grows stronger. You train it to analyze, connect, and create new solutions instead of just reacting. Questioning doesn't mean being negative. It means being aware. It's about developing a mind that can separate truth from illusion, because those who question evolve. Those who don't remain trapped in the same cycle. The smartest people in the world were never afraid to ask why one more time. They understood that every great answer hides behind one more thoughtful question. So train your mind to be curious, not just informed, to think, not just remember, to understand, not just agree. Because that's how you build a mind that can outsmart confusion, see opportunity, and make decisions rooted in truth. The moment you start questioning deeply, you stop being a follower and you start becoming a thinker. And in a world full of noise, thinkers are the ones who lead. Number 3, separate facts from emotions in every decision. Separating facts from emotions in every decision is one of the hardest yet most powerful skills a person can master. Most people make decisions driven by how they feel in the moment, not by what is true or logical. They react based on anger, excitement, fear, or pride, and then regret the outcome later. The truth is, emotion is temporary, but the consequences of emotional decisions can last a lifetime. To train your brain to outsmart any situation, you must learn to pause, analyze, and separate what you feel from what is real. When something happens, the first thing that usually takes over is emotion. Someone says something that offends you, and immediately your mind floods with anger. You face a challenge, and fear starts whispering that you might fail. You get a small success, and excitement pushes you to make fast, careless decisions. This is the trap most people fall into. the inability to create space between emotion and action. The stronger your emotions are, the weaker your reasoning becomes, and the moment reasoning fades, clarity disappears. That's why so many people end up making choices they later wish they hadn't. The goal isn't to become emotionless. Emotions are part of being human. The key is to become aware of them without being controlled by them. When you recognize what you're feeling and give it a name, anger, fear, jealousy, excitement, you take back control. You shift from being inside the emotion to observing it. That small shift changes everything, because once you can see what's happening inside you, you can separate your feelings from the facts and make better decisions. Facts are the reality that exists whether you like it or not. Emotions are your temporary reaction to that reality. Most people mix the two together and end up believing their emotions are the truth. They say things like, "I feel like everyone's against me," or "I feel like I'm not good enough." But feelings aren't facts. The fact might be that you made a mistake or faced a setback, but that doesn't mean you're not capable. It just means there's something to learn and improve. Once you learn to see the difference, you stop being a slave to your emotions and start being a master of your choices. Think of the most successful and respected people in the world. What makes them different is not that they don't feel pressure or night stress. It's that they don't let those feelings decide for them. They think before they move. They study the facts, the data, and the reality before making a choice. They know that logic protects progress, while emotion without control destroys it. They respond instead of reacting. That's how they maintain clarity even in chaos. In relationships, work, and business, this skill is priceless. When you react emotionally, you say things you don't mean. You take actions that hurt your reputation, or you make promises you can't keep. But when you take time to step back and ask, what are the facts? You avoid unnecessary mistakes. You see things as they are, not as your emotions want them to be. And that's when your mind becomes powerful, because power comes from clarity. To practice this, start by observing your emotions instead of obeying them. When something frustrates you, ask yourself what exactly is causing it. Is it the situation itself or your interpretation of it? When fear shows up, examine it. What is it protecting you from, and is it justified? When excitement tries to rush you, slow down and ask if the timing and facts support the decision. The more you do this, the sharper your thinking becomes. You start gaining emotional distance, and that's where intelligent decision-making begins. Separating emotion from fact doesn't mean ignoring your feelings. It means understanding them and keeping them in the right place. Feel your emotions fully, but then move to logic. Let your heart feel, but let your brain decide. If you can train yourself to pause, analyze, and verify before acting, you'll be miles ahead of the crowd. Because most people are moved by impulse, while the wise are guided by insight. In every difficult situation, ask yourself, what are the facts? What can I prove to be true? What is just how I feel right now? Write it down if you must. When you see the difference on paper, it becomes much easier to separate temporary emotion from lasting truth. Over time, you'll notice how much calmer, wiser, and more in control you become. This skill won't just improve your decision-making, it will transform your entire mindset. You'll stop arguing unnecessarily, stop making emotional purchases, stop doubting your potential. You'll become grounded, thoughtful, and clear. People will start trusting your judgment because they'll see that you don't panic under pressure. You respond with reason, and that's the mark of true intelligence. When you master separating fact from emotion, you no longer get easily offended, manipulated, or discouraged. You begin to see situations for what they are, not for what your emotions try to convince you. They are. That's how real maturity develops. It's the point where you stop being reactive and start being strategic. Every great leader, every strong thinker, every calm achiever you've ever admired, they've mastered this ability. They know emotions are meant to be managed, not followed blindly. In the end, clarity is power. The clearer your mind becomes, the stronger your life gets. Every time you choose facts over emotion, you're building strength, wisdom, and emotional control. And when your emotions serve your intelligence instead of ruling it, no situation can overwhelm you. You begin to move through life with calm precision, making decisions not from confusion, but from confidence. That's how you outsmart chaos. That's how you rise above reaction and start shaping your own outcomes. Number 4, learn from every mistake and adjust your strategy. Most people don't realize how much damage comes from reacting too quickly to emotion. A single moment of anger can destroy years of trust. One emotional decision can cost thousands of dollars or a lifelong opportunity. That's why emotional control isn't just about calmness. It's about power. The person who can keep their emotions in check owns the situation. They can see more clearly, plan more wisely, and act more effectively than those who let emotion run wild. When you're in a heated moment, your brain's logic shuts down. Your thoughts start racing, your pulse rises, and your focus narrows on whatever triggered the feeling. In that instant, you lose your ability to see the full picture. You stop thinking about the long-term consequences of what you're about to say or do. That's how most mistakes are made. Not because people are stupid, but because they're emotional. The mind becomes clouded with reaction instead of direction. This is why separating emotion from fact is not optional if you want to succeed. It's essential. When you learn to calm the emotion first, you regain access to the logical part of your brain, the part that thinks clearly, weighs options, and sees beyond the moment. That's the part that leads to better results, stronger relationships, and smarter choices. Every time you face a situation that stirs emotion, you're being tested. You're being asked, can you stay steady while others lose control? Because the one who stays steady wins. They win in business because they don't panic when markets shift. They win in arguments because they don't say things that can't be taken back. They win in life because they move with purpose, not pressure. You can start training your brain by slowing down your response. The next time you feel anger rising, don't speak. Take a few deep breaths and give yourself time to process. Ask yourself what the real facts are. Did the person truly insult you, or did your mind exaggerate it? Did the situation actually harm you, or did it just hurt your pride? By asking questions, you challenge your emotions with logic, and logic always brings balance. Another powerful habit is journaling your thoughts when you're emotional. Write down what you feel and what's actually happening. When you see the words on paper, it becomes clear what's emotional noise and what's objective truth. The more you do this, the better you become at identifying emotional patterns. You start to see that most emotions are temporary waves, not permanent truths. You'll notice how much lighter life feels when you stop reacting emotionally to everything. Small things no longer control you. People's opinions lose power. You don't waste energy on arguments that don't matter. You save your focus for what truly moves your life forward. That's the beauty of emotional discipline. It gives you freedom from impulsive words, from unnecessary stress, from regret. When you separate facts from emotions, you stop being manipulated by others. People who know your emotions control you can easily provoke you. They know which buttons to press. But once you learn to stay calm and analyze before reacting, their power over you disappears. You become untouchable, not because you don't feel anything, but because you control everything you feel. In business, this skill can save you from costly mistakes. You'll stop making decisions based on excitement or fear and start basing them on evidence and reason. In relationships, it prevents fights that come from misunderstanding. In personal growth, it keeps you focused when emotions try to drag you backward. Every area of your life improves when logic leads emotion. The truth is, emotion and fact must work together, but in the right order. Emotion gives energy, but fact gives direction. Without direction, energy becomes chaos. When you learn to separate them, you still feel deeply, but you act wisely. You can feel disappointment without losing hope. You can feel anger without destroying peace. You can feel excitement without losing judgment. That's what it means to have mental strength. If you want to outsmart any situation, start by mastering this one thing. Don't let emotion make decisions that facts should make. Facts are steady. Emotions are waves. The person who builds their choices on facts stands firm, no matter how high the waves rise. You become grounded, composed, and focused. You think clearly even when everything around you is chaotic. That's the mindset that separates average people from great thinkers. Average people follow their emotions and wonder why life keeps repeating the same problems. Great thinkers follow truth and rise above the noise. They don't fight for control. They already have it within. Every time you feel tempted to react, remember, emotion is temporary. Truth is lasting. Choose truth. Choose clarity. Choose to pause, think, and decide from strength, not impulse. That's how you train your brain to outsmart any situation. That's how you move through life, not as a reactor, but as a creator, someone who doesn't let emotion dictate their direction, but uses reason to define their destiny. Let me leave you with this truth, a truth that separates the dreamers from the doers, the talkers from the achievers, and the wanderers from the focused few who change their lives forever. Your success, your peace, your fulfillment, they're not waiting somewhere far away. They are being built right now through the quiet things you do every single day. The habits no one praises you for, the moments of discipline when no one is watching, the tiny acts of self-control that seem insignificant today, but are silently shaping your future. If you ever wonder why some people keep growing while others stay the same, it's because growth is not luck, it's choice. It's the choice to wake up early when your body says sleep. It's the choice to study while others scroll. It's the choice to clean your environment because you know clutter outside creates chaos inside. It's the choice to stay disciplined when you feel lazy, to keep learning when you feel like you already know enough, and to reflect each night on how you can be better tomorrow. That's how transformation begins, quietly, consistently, humbly. You see, the world doesn't reward potential, it rewards consistency. You could be talented, gifted, even brilliant, but if you're not disciplined, if you don't grow, if you don't control your environment, if you don't reflect on your life, you'll keep spinning in circles while time moves forward without you. Discipline is what bridges the gap between desire and reality. Reflection is what keeps you honest. And daily growth is what ensures you never become stagnant. So, I want you to take this message seriously. From this day forward, make a decision that you'll never live another day on autopilot. Every morning, feed your mind with wisdom. Every day, stay focused on your mission. Every night, review your progress. Because that's how leaders are made, not by luck, not by chance, but by design. You are far more powerful than you realize. You are capable of rebuilding your entire life if you simply commit to steady improvement. Don't wait for the perfect time. It doesn't exist. Don't wait for motivation. It fades. Build systems. Build habits, build character, because when those are in place, success becomes inevitable. So as you step away from this message, remember this: success doesn't happen in some distant future. It starts now. It starts with the small, invisible choices you make today. It starts with you choosing growth over comfort, focus over distraction, and discipline over excuses. You don't have to rush. You don't have to compete. You just have to keep going, one strong day at a time. Because one day you'll look back and realize that all the effort, all the discipline, all the quiet sacrifices, they were never in vain. They were building the life you were destined to live. So keep going, keep growing, keep becoming, because the best version of you is waiting on the other side of your consistency. So